Hey, Metalheads, Tony Callister here, presenter of the Power Hour with NWOBHM. I am at New Mills Arts Theatre in Stockport. What a day I've got in store for you. I am meeting Axeman, guitar legend, Mr. Ian Toomey, of course, Bitches Sin fame, new wave of British heavy metal. I can't wait. I am like a kid in a candy shop. Tell you what, follow me. Ian, how are you doing?
Good
Great to see you again.
Thank you for coming down.
Yeah, listen, you brought me in this artist dressing room, but where's my Jack Daniels?
Ooh, where is Jack
rider.
Daniels?
I should have a rider, but listen.
I've got loads of blue Smarties for you though.
That'll keep me up, that's great. Gotta say, I was born in 1965, however, 1980, Bitches Sin were born.
Yeah, April 1980. Pete and I had been learning guitar, and one of the big frustrations we had back in the day was you'd go and buy an album and be like 2, maybe 3 great tracks, and the rest was rubbish. You know, even like big bands, name bands, there's probably only Led Zeppelin where there was anything kind of continuity and of a high standard throughout. So learning guitar, okay, that's fine. I played in a couple of local bands, notably one called Hatchet, with a great set of lads. That was really good fun. And instead of just sitting there listening to music, and half of which you weren't really bothered about, we decided to form a band called Bitches Sin.
Yeah.
And the driver for that was we're going to try and make every single song exciting, full of energy, and try and have a high standard throughout.
I've got to totally agree with you there. New wave of British heavy metal. You fit in there absolutely perfect along with all the other forerunners. Now then, the first album was born. Great album. As you say, every track was a corker.
Thank you very much. We did set out with that intent. I'm convinced we achieved it. Later, when we got to do the Invaders album, that was a real labour of love, and we all agonised over it. There's 2 or 3 tracks didn't make the album, like What the Hell, and I don't know, sometimes you have a limited amount of time on vinyl, so
I think that's the depth of your material. You know, you've got a lot of material out there.
Yes.
You know, and the ones that made the cut deserve to make the cut.
It was very easy writing, and that ease of writing has stayed with me throughout. There was a time after the Invaders album where we stepped away. People get married, people move away, other things change within the band, as with most bands. So it wasn't really in my life for a while, and then I got a handwritten letter from a guy called Twan van Puerten, who is involved with the Heavy Metal Maniacs Festival over in Holland. What are you doing? Why aren't you playing? Why aren't you releasing CDs of Invaders and your first demo tape, Your Place or Mine? Didn't have an answer for him. So I thought, do I really want to go and do this again? And I just left it alone for 2 or 3 months, and it was one of those where I just didn't go away. Okay, so we'll say 6 months later, because it'll be about that kind of time. Frank was very good on IT, so we put a rudimentary Bitches Sin page together. We started to do CDs, and there was a lot of interest. And
there was a lot of interest.
A lot of compliments. So that kind of fueled the fire.
I think, again, you know, I used to read in Sounds, used to read in the metal magazines, which I always bought. Bitches Sin were in there. They were right up there with the forerunners. And again, listen, Ian, for 40 years I've been your biggest fan and all that, you know. First album, superb. Second album, took you to new heights.
All you can do is do your best. And with time, it evolves. And the biggest evolution that happened with us was when we met Chris Tsangarides.
Absolutely.
And the experience of working with Chris was phenomenal. So that really took us to You Do Voodoo, which was our comeback album in 2008. We've done bits of releases over the years, and we did the legacy CDs, so First Temptation and Invaders, Essential Sins, which captured all the older material. But there's still something in there that Chris brought out when we did he mixed an album for us called Flashpoint. And then, having met the guy, worked with him and seen what he'd done with really quite a basic recording, he did that on the promise that if we did do any more recordings, we would work with him, because he wanted to control everything, how it sounded, etc. So yeah, that's not a problem, Chris. And then later on we did You Do Voodoo.
I think it was a genius move as well to bring Chris on board. You know, his production skills really bring everything out to the fore with everything that you've done.
Yes, He's an interesting person, Chris. It's like working with your favourite uncle. And whilst it is the producer's job to bring the best out of the band, it's also the producer's job to say, okay, I sense the band will want to go in this direction, but I know with my expertise, it actually needs to go this way. So a typical conversation would be, Chris, have a listen to this, tell us what you think. That will sound great there. Yeah, it will. This might sound better. So it's like, take what you had, you might either develop it, or you just go, yeah, I understand what you're doing. And then something, where it came from, I don't know. It's just like, yeah, wow, why wouldn't you do it that way?
I mean, when you get mentions in the Superstar Rock book, Lars Ulrich and people like that talk about Bitches Sin, you know, and how they followed on from the new wave of British heavy metal movement, that's got to feel good.
It's interesting that the bands such as that have chosen that period of time.
Yeah.
Because part of the reason you and I are talking today, Tony, is that the new wave of British heavy metal has never gone away. You've had all sorts of musical fads over the year, and you can't kill this beast. It's a crazy situation.
Invaders, it's constantly on my playlist. I love it, absolutely love it. Going back them years, bringing it to 2021, it sounds as good as ever.
Thank you very much. Well, I went to see my dentist recently, a youngish guy. And I was in the chair. I'd had a cap fitted from the past in judo. I've lost a few teeth, and some of them are beyond repair. So, as is the way. And I was in the chair, and he's working away, and the Invaders theme kicks off.
On the phone?
Yeah, on the riff. So the phone's on the side.
Yeah,
he goes, What's this? I said, he says, that Led Zeppelin? I said, no.
It's better.
He said, no, mate. I said, it's me. What? I said, yeah, I had a band back then, I'm still doing a little bit now. He said, I never knew that. I said, yeah. I said, the track's called Invaders, it's off an album, and I love the opening riff, so that's my ringtone now. He said, great. Have you got any more? I said, well, yeah. So I gave him the website address. I said, videos are on there. I said, and if you have a look on the web, you can find, or YouTube, you can find some other stuff that we've done. And I was really, really flattered. You know, it doesn't have to be about money. Everybody has a fixation with money in the music industry. Surely that's more rewarding than, you know, a big lump of money, because that's in the moment, that's touched somebody's soul. And then he'll go away and he'll tell other people about it. And then hopefully you enrich their musical experience as well. But it was certainly wasn't expecting that.
But listen, and that's well deserved. I mean, you've got a huge swell of fans out there. From those early days, and of course the cassettes, the single, and then the first album dropping, I guess the music industry was a little bit different then to what it is today.
Very much so. I was up and down London really quite a lot, working with the guys at Classic Rock. I was working with Alex Milas at Metal Hammer. On an occasion, things, for example, like the Golden Gods and the Classic Rock Awards. So I met a lot of the top guys there. I think one of the greatest things was when the Scorpions and Roger Daltrey came over to the table. You know, they just turned up, wanted to come and meet us, and I have to say it was a really, really quite a night, that one. But if I can remember some of it.
And only the good and the great we mention here. Tommy Vance, God rest his soul, fantastic. The Friday Rock Show, 10 till 12. And I can remember listening to The Sin on the Friday Rock Show. It was cool. And when we talk about the Rapture, that firmly puts you in that bracket of superlatives, you know.
Yeah, thank you very much. And the Rapture was a dream to do from the day one, from the moment I was going to write it. Everything went well. But the production that Chris brought to the table, the Rapture should be dark, it should be brooding, there's the very nature of what the Rapture is. But it's communication of those souls, those that will transpire and be removed from the final tribulation. It's all there. And so the record sleeve, an album sleeve, depicts the sound mirrors.
Really cool. I was going to ask you about that. Really cool cover.
The sound mirrors are there to broadcast out to the ether and out to the universe that this darkness is going to come to an end, and the gathering horde of ravens that you see on there sweeping across the plain. If you look at the colours of the sleeve, they're not natural, they're not of nature. There's like this toxic purple chemical type colour. And so we wanted to portray the sound mirrors as a method of communication, because back in the day, in the 30s when they were first built, they were there to act as like an early radar to spot aircraft coming over the channel. We've turned that around because they were warning of dark times. Well, dark times are here, so we've turned it into a communication to broadcast out to the universe.
But I've got to say again, and we talk about this magician, Mr. Chris Tsangarides, with all the stuff he's brought to the table with the albums, and we're going to talk a lot more about Chris and your movement forward. But again, the Rapture, gotta say, it's one of my favourite albums, and I don't say that lightly.
No, I appreciate that, Tony, and I have to say there are occasions where if I've been doing other things, I haven't had the opportunity, I would do put the album on, and sometimes I look back and I think, did we actually do this? Did I actually write that, or really did we do the guitar that way? And you know, Dave's an incredible talent, so you can never really question Dave's vocals because he's massive self-belief in there. But I listen to Styx, you know, and some of the rolls on the drums, etc. Some of the bass runs Chris has put in, because Chris did some of the bass work as well, and you just think, no, how did that come together at that point in time? And then 10, 11 years later, you look around and you think like, whoa, the lyrics and everything to do with that album is now. It's not then, it's now.
It sits firmly in 2021. And again, for people listening out there, I've got to say, I had to hunt your drummer down, Styx, because I wanted to learn to play the drums. And I was very fortunate that he's helped me learn to play the drums. I will never be as good as him. And like you say, his rolls are something unbelievable.
Tell me about that first meeting.
The first meeting, crikey, a really unassuming sort of a chap.
Yeah.
Really, really unassuming. And I was a little bit very shaky and, oh Steve, but he was so cool and calm with me. And I tell you what, it takes a long while for me to learn something. His patience was superb, but also it was jaw-dropping when I watched him doing demos for me, you know. And you've got one hell of a team around you with Millsy on vocals, yourself on guitar, and of course, Styx on the drums. It's something very, very special.
I think the greatest blessing that we have is that we have this commonality. And that commonality is that we all have the same belief system. And if you don't believe that, you know, the light is here to enrich the world, and that what these gifts that you've been given, you should be utilising them, not just for your own enjoyment, and not for your own fulfilment and to take a message forward, but people should be seeing that. And later on, you know, when we talk about our video years, but then to have this visual treatment occur, to have this presentation, it's putting that message out there so incredibly well.
Yeah, absolutely. Ian, as ever, I mean, I know you're a busy man. Thanks for giving me the time just for me to chat to you. But I know we've got loads more to talk about, and we talk about a little bit more about Chris Tsangarides, but also the Ian Toomey project. So hopefully we're going to catch up very, very soon. Thanks again,
Thanks
Ian.
again, Tony.
And all the best.
Take care.
Take care, mate.